لسه والله مش نعمل هون. لا من المنطقة من منطقة ضرب لجوا. هذا عن هاي كمان اوه كله ما بالوعي على عن الحمد لله خلص في واحد هاي يوم اثنين ورا بعض. وينها؟
לא, יעשו חולים קל, אבל לא מבפנים עדיין לא יעשו כלום. אוקיי, כניסה.
Guys, get out there, man. Get out there.
As you can see behind me, I'm on a scene where a missile struck right in the center of a building complex. We have 5 buildings that were hit by the missile. We have one which is the main building and all the other ones surrounding it which were partially hit as well. We are currently evacuating minimal amount of patients. We have 1 serious patient with 2 more with minor injuries. We still have a lot of work behind me, as you can see, extracting patients from all the buildings, going door from door. Our teams are together with the fire department and front command, trying to get people out of their houses. You can see the house behind me is still on fire.
So the million-dollar question with Washington is, will Washington enter this war, and in what capacity will Washington enter? Already the U.S. is helping the Israelis with ballistic missile defense. There's a THAAD battery on the ground in Israel, and there's Aegis-enabled ballistic missile defense destroyers in the Eastern Mediterranean. These, in addition with Israel's well-layered air and missile defense system, are helping to track, detect, and destroy Iran's ballistic missile barrages, of which there have been 11. If the U.S. moves to potentially strike Iran's nuclear program, the attention would be at Fordow, an underground nuclear fuel enrichment plant under 300 feet of rock. The Americans are the only ones with the planes and the heavier bunker buster bombs that could meaningfully damage, if not destroy, this facility. at least using known ordinances. President Trump has been messaging that Iran's supreme leader would find it in his interest to come to the table and give away his nuclear program and surrender. Iran, for its part, is hearing this talk and seeing this potential for the U.S. to enter the conflict and trying to deter it. It's trying to deter it through the threat of a wider war. The Iranians allegedly privately have messaged to some other foreign actors to try to mediate de-escalation and deconfliction with the Israelis for a ceasefire. There are some voices inside Iran pushing for that already, non-governmental, obviously. And then publicly, the Islamic Republic is continuing to launch ballistic missile attacks at Israel, 11 rounds of which since the fighting started. And Iran is largely engaging in what we call a counter-value operation, meaning they're targeting civilian population centers largely in a bid to erode the will of the Israelis to fight. And then finally, there's Israel itself, which is continuing its stunningly successful hybrid military and intelligence campaign against the Islamic Republic. They've gone after high-value targets like the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Brain Trust, and they continue to go after the seconds-in-commands who have been promoted. They've gone after multiple nuclear scientists who are part of the regime's military nuclear program and really the brain trust behind weaponization there. They've struck a whole host of military facilities in the western part of the country and are slowly moving more towards the center. Israel also has essentially pretty close, if not all, of Iran's airspace covered. So there's air superiority that the Israelis have, which allow them to pick at any sites that they want to with a considerably freer hand. And then the Israelis are still going to be judged, despite all these military successes, by their ability or inability to meaningfully degrade or destroy the regime's nuclear program, because ultimately that was the backdrop for Israel's strike. But American military involvement would have a drastically magnifying effect to those limited successes the Israelis have had thus far.
Have you seen the Tucker Carlson, Senator Ted Cruz interview? It seems like this issue on whether or not the United States should strike is kind of dividing a lot of your supporters.
My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me, but nobody thinks it's okay. People that don't want, I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have to fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting. They have to come in legally. And if they come in legally, we want them. They have to say they love America, they love our... And it's interesting because I did ask Tucker, I said, well, are you okay with nuclear weapons being in the hands of Iran? And he sort of didn't like that. He didn't want to really, but he sort of didn't like that. And I said, well, if it's okay with you, then you and I do have a difference. But it's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight, and maybe it'll end, and maybe it'll end very quickly. But there's no way that you can allow, whether you have to fight or not, you can allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, because the entire world will blow up. I'm not going to let that happen.
Mr. President, you had a bit of a row with President Emmanuel Macron of France the other day, the G7
No,
it sounded like.
he's a nice guy. Look, he said I was going back home to make a ceasefire. Not a ceasefire. We're long beyond ceasefire. And I said, why do you say that? Why would you say ceasefire? It's a bad term to use. Because a ceasefire means like everything's going swimmingly, we'll take a little time off. It's not. We're not looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for a total, complete victory. Again, you know what the victory is. No nuclear weapon.
You're making your decision on Iran. Obviously, there's been a change from when you were pursuing a diplomatic negotiation.
Yeah.
Now, you seem very open to the idea of potentially taking U.S. action. Obviously, you're not going to tell us that. Can you walk us through what contributed to that change, how you got to where you are in making your decision now?
Well, I think it started the first night. I mean, that first night was devastating. And it really knocked the one side off, as you know. It was a devastating evening, day. And it's pretty much proceeded that way. I have a meeting in the war room in a little while. Situation Room, as some people call it. So we're going to meet. We're going to see. We're in the midst of it's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death, so much death and destruction. But death primarily is what I hate to see.
Does that mean you haven't made a decision yet on what to do?
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, because things change. I mean, especially with war, things change with war. It can go from one extreme to the other. War is very bad. There was no reason for this to be a war. There was no reason for Russia, Ukraine. A lot of wars there was no reason for.
With Iran, what's your message to Americans, both here and abroad, who are not only concerned about the U.S. potentially getting involved in another conflict in the Middle East, but worry about the potential for retaliation here at home?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get involved either, but I've been saying for 20 years, maybe longer, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. And I think they were a few weeks away from having one. And they had to sign a document. I think they wish they signed it now. It was a fair deal. And now it's a harder thing to sign, It's a lot of water over the dam. But, it's I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Too much devastation. And they'd use it. I believe they'd use it. Others won't use it, but I believe they'd use it. So that's it. It's very simple as far as I'm concerned. They can't have a nuclear weapon. For a long time. And I think they were a few weeks away from having one. And they had to sign a document. I think they wish they signed it now.
Is the destruction or the dismantling of the Fordow nuclear enrichment center, is that a prerequisite for a deal? Is that a red line for you?
No, it's just something that people talk about having. We're the only ones that have the capability to do it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it at all. Yeah, we have the best military equipment in the world. You see that with this fight. We have planes that are undetectable, flying around like, nobody's able to see them stealth. You guys want to be stealthy tonight. You can be stealth, you'll never lose, right? But these are incredible planes and weapons. We have the best weapons in the world, by far. Nobody close. And certain countries take advantage of that. Israel has incredible weaponry. So we'll see what happens. I've been asked about it by everybody, but I haven't made a decision. Very good agreement for them. And maybe that could still happen, I guess. They do want to come and see us. They want to see me in the White House. That's a big statement.